Good evening. My name is Margaret Boyle, President of the Federated Women's Institutes of Canada, FWI Canada. Welcome to our virtual gathering as FWI Canada remembers those that have fallen and those that have given service as members of the Canadian Armed Forces for home and country. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving our relationships between nations and to improve our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. This time we're going to play for Canada. Thank you. And I'd like to acknowledge and give thanks to Lynn for her tech support here. I'm sorry, my part of it wasn't very good to start with, but thanks, Lynn, for all that you do. At this point in time, I'd like to invite Doreen Waller to introduce our speakers. Doreen, you have to unmute.
There we go. In honor of Remembrance Day tomorrow, November the 11th, I am pleased to introduce you to our guest, retired Sergeant Edith Scott, CD. Edith served for 33 plus years in the Canadian Armed Forces. 1982 to 2016. She was a traffic technician in the Royal Canadian Air Force and has served across Canada and overseas. 8 postings, 2 tours, and numerous exercises and operations in Canada and abroad. Edith is married to Gary Noseworthy, a retired service member also. They have 2 sons, Alexander and Christopher. Welcome, Edith.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me? I'm hoping so.
Yes, we can.
Excellent. I joined the reserves in 82 with the 89th Field Battery in Woodstock, New Brunswick. And then I was about 18 years old during that time. I served about 10 months there, and then I joined the regular force, though it was under a YTEP program, a Youth Temporary Employment Program, which is you serve for 1 year. And if you like it, you can continue on, or once you completed that 1 year, you could go about your way if you didn't care for it. Well, I enjoyed it and I signed up and I became regular force in 84, August of 84. I retired in February 15th in 2016. So I've been retired for 6 years now. As mentioned, I have completed 7, 8 tours. A couple of them were split. And I've spent my time after Cornwallis in Ottawa, Calgary, Borden. I did 2 tours to Gagetown, Winnipeg, Edmonton, and then I came back to Gagetown, as I said. I also have completed 2 tours. Palladium, I was in Camp Black Bear, Veluka, I cannot ever say that word, in Bosnia-Herzegovina. I did that tour from September 02 to April 03. I was also completed my second tour was off Archer in support of Afghanistan. And I was at Camp Mirage in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. I'm a traffic technician by trade, soldier first, but a traffic technician by trade. And when I say a traffic technician, we did not stand at the end of the street and direct traffic. We were referred to as the movers in the military. Anything that came or left the base, whether it be equipment or personnel, they came through us. As a traffic tech, there's about 20 plus civilian occupations that we sort of done, that we took care of. I mainly worked at either CMTT, referred to as the Central Material Traffic Terminal, where any equipment or freight came in through us. We would offload the trucks, verify that everything was there and there was no damage. And we sent it out to the various units on base. And also everything that had to go out to be repaired or was going to another base, we would take care of the shipping arrangements via all modes, road, rail, land, or sea. I'm also many courses throughout my years. We start low and we work our way up through everything. I also, as a traffic tech, we did take care of personnel. If they were moving, we would go in and they would come see us and we'd brief them on what was going to take place with their posting and where they're moving to. And we'd make the arrangements for them with the moving company to come in, load them up, pack up all their belongings and load them into trucks and move them to the new destination. We were part of that would move you. You've all probably been to an airport before. That's another part of our trade as working at the air movements units or sections. We loaded and offloaded the aircraft. We not only just loaded the aircraft, but we checked the personnel into the air, just like going to an airport. You check in when you first get there, and then you are screened, your baggage is screened, and then your go through screening. You probably had the little wand, and then you wait for your flight, and then we go out and we drive all the equipment to load and offload the aircraft, your stairs trucks. I drove many of those before. I was very fortunate to drive the stairs truck, and when the Queen Mother came to Ottawa,
Oh,
so anything to do with the loading or offloading the aircraft, we take care of. And one of the things that we strive to become is a load master, but I didn't get to go flying as a load master where you're actually on the flight itself and you're in charge of any passengers on board or any freight that is on the flight. I've flown on most of our aircraft, but didn't get the privilege of going flying and getting my wings, as they say, to go flying. what else can I tell you?
You're
So
doing
we,
great.
I mean, I've as being Air Force too, I'm Air Force, and I spent most of my time on an Army base, believe it or not. Because of my trade, we're sort of purple. We've referred to us as a purple trade because we could be posted to any of the bases, whether it be Army, Navy, or Air Force. And most of my time was spent with the Army. I did enjoy my time with the Air Force. I had Ottawa and Winnipeg, and the rest were Army postings that I did. Ottawa was a great time. It was my first posting, 83 to 88. And I worked at the Air Movements section there, 3 Air Movements unit. And then at CMTT also there. We offloaded flights. We had several flights a day. They come from out west and go east, or they were going from east, I went west, or they were going overseas to LAR. We also had many flights for VIPs come through our section, and we had to look after any politicians. They would come through our area. They had a place for them, and we take care of them. And I met many politicians, carried their baggage for them over to the flight and made sure they got on the flight properly. Once I left Ottawa, I ended up out in Calgary, which is the service battalion, and field time. We had to do field. So as Calgary was in the middle of the city, we usually did a caravan or a convoy up to Wainwright. We take our vehicles, go up to Wainwright and sleep out in our little tents, or 10 men, 5-man tents. And we'd spend 2 or 3 weeks up there practicing our field craft. I can remember several times being out there in the winter time, walking across the fields in Wainwright with hauling a sled behind us, a sled that would carry a 10-man tent, our rations. There would be 2 of us be hauling this thing out there in the middle of the winter across the fields. We were some of the first girls to be in a service battalion. And so they didn't discriminate between, well, you're girls and you're guys. We did have to share tents with each other, and where we slept, you had your own sleeping bag. But by the end of the day, you were so tired, you just crashed anyway when you crawled into your sleeping bag for the night, or when it was your time to take rest. Calgary had a lot of great memories from, we did 2x10s, which is a day, 2 days in a row, we'd have to go out. First day, we'd have our full kit on and march it was 10 miles. And you had your full kit on with your rucksack, your helmet, you're carrying your weapon, and you had to do 10 miles in 2 hours and 30 minutes. And the second day, you had to go back out and do it all over again, minus your rucksack. So we still had our helmet, our weapon, and a water bottle, and do it all again. Usually ended up with lots of blisters on the feet. Lost a few toenails too along the way. So, and a couple of times out in the field, we were supposed to be doing sentry duty. I was out with the sergeant learning how to do things, and instead of paying attention in case the enemy, our fellow soldiers trying to walk into our camp, we were busy looking at the Northern Lights because they were spectacular that night. My tours included Bosnia-Herzegovina. I was all over the Bosnia, former Yugoslavia area. I got to be, made it down to Sarajevo. Pretty awesome place to go and see. but not so nice when you look at the area once it's all been bombed up and everything. Now, I was there towards the end of everything, but it was still an eye opener. You drive by villages that are bombed out. They've got mine signs up all over the place, sticks stuck up in the middle of a field that indicate where a mine is. Now, when I went to Bosnia, they were looking for a master corporal, and my husband at the time was the company sergeant major, and the tasking came across his desk looking for a master corporal. And so he put my name down and called me and told me that he had put my name in to go on tour. And that was in 3 weeks' time that I would be leaving. So it was a mad rush to make sure all my qualifications were up and to be able to go. And I missed some of the training, but they informed me that I would get it when I got there off the flight. So away I went. And the first thing they told us when we got on the ground is stay on the hard surface. Do not go off a hard surface if you're ever outside the gate here at the camp. Another quick lesson and eye open. While I was there, we had to go from camp to camp, taking supplies or shipping supplies out to them. I had to go to Croatia several times to drop off paperwork for things coming into Canada to get it to clear through customs. They needed paperwork on some of the things that were coming in. And I was in charge of doing the paperwork to get things cleared through customs for anything coming into Bosnia. It was a lot of work, but it was, you have a handover from the team that was there before you, and they sort of walk you through what needs to be done. Bosnia was awesome. I had a great crew to work with as being a new master corporal, and it was made many good friends there. From Bosnia, I came back to Gagetown, and then we were posted to Winnipeg, to an Air Force base. I did several tours to Thule, Greenland. I did 3. 2 as a private corporal, and then they sent me back up as a sergeant in charge of a team for a box top, which is, we resupply alert when we do a box top. We ship them up items that they will need to survive through the winter, to get them through the winter time, besides just the regular flights that go up once a week. So I'm up there with the team as a new sergeant, and one of the things we had to do was build a triple pallet, which is slid into the back of an aircraft to take it up to alert. And these pallets are 108 by 108, and we had to connect 3 of them to fit the equipment on to slide into a Herc. I wish I had photos to show you. It's much easier to explain. That was a rough go for me that day, and at dinner that night, I had a little meltdown. I didn't think I could do it, but the warrant came over and said, you got this, you can do it, just talk to your team. So I sat down with my team and talked to them, and they said, they've been up here many times, have built many of these things, and we got your back, Sergeant. So they took good care of me, and they got me through one of the worst parts of my time. Came back, and I felt good about that one. I've really enjoyed my time in the military. I've been all across Canada, many different operations. I mean, I've got the travel. I've been to Islamabad, Pakistan. We were over there when the DART team, now I don't know what the DART team stands for, the Disaster Assistant something team, but they were over there. They took over some equipment to make fresh water. I believe they had some earthquakes over there, and they had taken equipment over to provide fresh water for the people in Pakistan that were devastated because of the earthquakes. And we were over there to bring all the equipment and the personnel back. So that's when I got to go to Islamabad, Pakistan. I was also in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, and that was in support of Afghanistan. What a city. I'd love to go back and see how much it's changed now. But we were at Camp Mirage, and we were in charge of a team that we loaded the aircraft and personnel on to go up to Afghanistan. We were second line. You had Afghanistan would be sort of front line where they were, the big camp was, and we were in Dubai in support of them. We were like a staging area. Well, some of the other places I've been to is Frobisher Bay, now Iqaluit. Cold in the winter time, and not a nice place to be laying on the belly of a Hercules aircraft, tying down vehicles with chains. Pretty cold. I got to go to Bermuda on an exercise. So we spent a week in Bermuda, toured around there on our time off. I was fortunate enough to be in Lahr, Germany on an exercise for the summer. I was over and helped them with the personnel moving from there. I was in Richmond, Virginia, and many places across Canada. I got a lot of great fond memories from my time in service. I met my husband there. He met him in Suffield. I took a French course. Still can't speak French very good. I can understand it to read it more so than, and I'm not very comfortable speaking it and at all. But used to go to French course, take a French course, and just talk to him. And finally, we ended up getting together and getting married. What else have I been?
Tell us about your quilt, Edith.
Oh, this quilt here behind me, I don't know whether you can see it all. It was made for Canada's 150.
Right.
And that was my first year of retirement. It is all hand embroidered. And I pay, there's 150 maple leaves quilted into it. I quilted it, my mother pieced it for me together as I wanted it, and then I hand quilted it. And that was my first year of retirement.
It's awesome. It's beautiful.
Well, I'm not sure of what you would like to know, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer questions. I've been asked several times, what's my favorite place? Well, every place is unique, and every one of them has its beauty. I can't answer that because they were all awesome. Maybe not so much in the middle of the winter at 4:30 in the morning doing patrols, but most of my postings were excellent. Had great personnel. I've met many people, and I could travel all across Canada and know people everywhere I go. What else?
There is one question somebody asked, Edith.
Okay, what's the question?
It says, have you been in charge of any of the flights with fallen service members from Afghanistan, for example?
Yes, I have. In Bosnia, no, I'm sorry, not, yes, Bosnia, no, not in Bosnia, but I was in United Arab Emirates. We'd have a ramp service when they would come in. Everybody from the camp would be lined up on the tarmac. The flight would come in. My team would be responsible for offloading them, moving them to a place until we would transport them back to Canada until the flight arrived to take them home to Canada. So they had like 2 ramp services. We'd be there when they arrived and we were there when we left. And everybody from Camp Mirage would be on the tarmac. We would be lined up. And to this day, every time I hear Amazing Grace with the bagpipes,
Yeah.
I am in tears.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
thinking about it brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
It was a huge responsibility, and because you want everything to go well. My team took this to heart, and I think the most and the hardest when we had to ship home 6 of our members. That was one of the hardest days that one of the most hardest days we had to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Each year, my husband and I, we tried to parade someplace different. Last year, we were at North Lake, and this year we are going to Hanwell. They have a new cenotaph that was erected in our community closest to us, and we are going to be attending there tomorrow morning. Is there any other questions that I could answer? Or
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
somebody's got questions, shoot them my way. I can certainly answer them to the best of my ability.
I see another question, Edith. Did you ever see combat?
No, I haven't. My trade is not one to see combat unless we were a loadmaster on the Hercs going into Afghanistan or into a war zone. But no, I personally have not been into a war zone.
Mm-hmm. 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 Super. Yeah.
What was your greatest challenge, Edith?
My greatest challenge. My greatest challenge is believing in myself that I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Others had that belief in me, and the biggest one that sends out my mind is when I went back to Winnipeg as a new sergeant and not being on an Air Force base since I was a young private corporal, and being put in charge of a team. I hadn't been around aircraft in, I'm going to say, many years, over 10 years. I haven't been around an aircraft. And then they put me back into a unit that was with aircraft, Hercs. They had the Airbus, and then they brought in the C-17. Big, huge learning curve there. I mean, I even talked to the captain, told him, I said, I need a reduction in rank to go back down to corporal so I can learn about the aircraft again. And he said, how long you been here? And I said, well, about a month. And he said, my Lord, Edith, he says, we don't expect you to know it all right now. Give yourself at least 6 months. And I said, okay, all right. So I stuck around. And towards the end, the unit had downsized from 54 people down to 14, and I was in charge at that time. I had a fabulous team, and I think that was my biggest challenge was having faith in myself that I can do this, that whatever challenges were set ahead of me, talk to your team, and they would, because they all bring different experiences with you, and experiences with them, and you talk to them. You're not doing this alone because you were there as a team. I think that was I always felt I had to have know it all. No, you don't. Trust the team you're with.
That's good. That's good.
Yes, of all of the countries that you have been to, which one would you like to go back to and why?
Of all the countries I've been to, I would like to go back to Bosnia, Herzegovina, Croatia, Bosnia, back down to Sarajevo to see if they've came away from all these buildings that were down that I seen. Did they get rid of more of the mines that were mines that were in the fields? Did they get them gone? Are you able to walk across the field now and be safe without worrying about stepping on a minefield? I would like to go back and see those countries again.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Or and also go back and see Dubai to see how much it has grown, because every place you look at over there had a crane on the top of it, and it was building. They were still building that, the tallest building in the world. They were still working on that when I was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was another question that popped up there.
Yeah. What was the longest time you were apart from your family?
The longest time was my tour to Bosnia, Herzegovina. I was a 6-month tour there. It was 6 months. I left in September and came home in March. And I think
And
that,
did you have the boys then?
yes,
Edith?
it did. Yes, it did. My husband
sir.
took care of them. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We had, he emailed me pretty much every day or a couple of days. He would email me and tell me that all was well. I didn't need to worry about them. They were getting their vegetables on a pizza or a stuffed crate. No, they did fine. I felt confident enough to leave them with my husband. They survived without me.
Yes. Oh, and you should tell the folks too that you have a son who is in the armed forces as well.
Yes, I do. We do have our youngest son, Christopher. He is currently out in Cold Lake, Alberta. He's got 8 years in now. He is in Cold Lake, and we're proud of that. My other son, Alexander, lives here in Fredericton, and I was out earlier. I was looking after my grandson, my first grandson today, and he was out, picked him up. His mom had something going on. So I'll just gonna take over here. So if you can see, that was my picture in Cornwallis, and then my retirement photo as a sergeant.
Nice.
And this is
Nice.
my son, Christopher.
Yes.
And then
Lovely.
down, and this is my husband. This light shining on it there, sorry. That's
Yay.
my husband, Gary Noseworthy.
Yay. Wonderful.
That is our retirement photos there. I just stuck our private, when we first went through Cornwallis, they take your picture, and they
Yes.
change in the years. When I first started out, we were tri-service. So everybody, Army, Navy, Air Force, we all wore the green uniform. And
Oh,
then
yes.
about 86, 87, I think they went to tri-service. We were Army, Navy, Air Force, and we got our own distinct uniform. I ended up with
Okay.
blue uniform, and
Yes.
people Navy went Navy, and then Air Force. We do not have any traffic techs in the Navy. We're either Air Force or Army.
Yes. And do you still have any of your uniforms?
I do. I still have my uniform. We both kept the uniform.
Yeah.
And we have some special things that our hats,
Yes.
my wedge or our beret, and a few
Yes.
things. I still
Yes.
have too many taking up space.
Yeah. And I see you've got medals on your top today.
Yes, I've got my medals on today. Look, I'll just take them off because there we go. So this is my time when I was in Bosnia. My last tour was in Palladium. I was in Camp Mirage, United Arab Emirates. This is from when I was in Bosnia, Herzegovina, and we were part of NATO when we were in Bosnia. So you get the NATO one, and then you get
Yes.
the Afghanistan. This is my CD. So the CD is just the medal itself.
Yes.
And that's for completing of 12 years service.
Okay.
And then you get another bar when you complete another 10 years. So I got my first bar at 22 years of service. And then I got my third bar when I completed 32 years of service. So
Okay.
every 10 years you would get another bar.
Okay.
So those
Wow,
are
that's quite something.
my medals.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So you wear those tomorrow?
I will wear them tomorrow. Yes. Yes,
Nice.
we wear them tomorrow. I have a
Lovely.
we've been each have our own little shadow box with our
Yes.
medals in it, our flag. I have my traffic tech flag and Canadian flag.
Mhm.
Plus the different ranks that I had, private through sergeant on my shadow box. My husband has his from private through to chief warrant officer.
Mhm.
And then I've also done up books for us, albums of, well, I've done their scrapbooks. I've taken the time
Yes.
to do up a scrapbook for each of us. We each have two, one with our career in it, that when you do a course, they give you a certificate and then you get a course photo. So I have those all in a book for each of us. He has his and I got mine. And then when I retired, I did several up for several of my team members. When they retired from the military, I gave them a nice little album with the different certificates and little letters from their fellow traffic techs or fellow military members would say, you know, enjoy retirement. So I did up books for each of us. So
Oh,
it's a
lovely.
scrapbook.
Yeah.
It's a little memento for, we can look back at our career with
Yeah.
photos and things in it.
Yes. Yeah. Edith, what's the story on the Veterans Marketplace? I know you participate in that.
The Veterans Marketplace is a site that you are invited to. It's for veterans that are still serving or are retired and they have a business. They make something and they put it out and they offer it to fellow veterans. And as civilians, you can look in on it, join. I'm not sure, but you might have to be invited to join. But many veterans that get out, they do crafts like myself, or they have a business. Some have vacation properties, you know, they offer it to the fellow veterans themselves. You can find almost anything. From woodworking, they do that as a stress relief, and they've started a hobby and it's grown into a little business for them. It's just a way to support other veterans all across Canada. They have different, they put their little website up, takes you to their page, they show you what they make, and it'll take you to the page. Yeah.
Great. Great. Anybody else have any questions? You've given us a great stories.
I mean, I truly enjoyed my time in the military. I've been asked before, would I do it again? In a heartbeat? Yes, I would. It was something that I highly recommend to any young citizen in Canada. If you don't know what you want to do or be, I say join the Canadian Forces. I know it gets a bad press once in a while. It gets a bad press, but you overlook that. But it is a worthwhile. The people you will meet, you'll learn to work as a team to accomplish everything. They'll build you down, they'll knock you down, but they'll build you back up because you've got a lot of people that will support you. And I highly recommend it to anybody.
Yeah.
Was your husband the same trade as you?
No, he was a mobile support equipment operator. otherwise known as a trucker.
Yeah.
He was as a trucker, but then at the end, he started out as a private and worked his way up through to become the chief.
Mhm.
And he was taking care of the troops. And my son, Christopher, when he joined, he went Army like his father, and he went mobile support equipment operator like his father. Couldn't convince him to go traffic tech and go Air Force.
Yeah, it must have been difficult with both of you in the forces making things work
Um,
at times.
there were times when they were younger.
Yeah.
It was because I could be called into work at any time with a flight change. We had Winnipeg. It was tough because you get SAR changes in there about every night. You go in and you work your regular shift from 7 o'clock in the morning. You figure you're done by 4:30, and then the phone rings and you have a SAR change to do, and that's another 2 to 3 hours after that. Or you just get home and you've just made your supper and you get called in back to work because you got to do the SAR change. Search and rescue. They have a aircraft at the ready at all times, and we have to remove equipment off of one aircraft and put it on another aircraft because that aircraft might have run out of flying hours and needed to go in for maintenance, or it broke down. Many different reasons, but we had to go in. There was a few nights, I think the wind chill across the tarmac was in the minus 50s, and 2 o'clock in the morning, we were out there offloading this aircraft and putting it on another one. That was a long night. Our equipment kept freezing up on us, and we had to watch ourselves that we didn't get frostbite out on the tarmac with the snow blowing and the wind just blowing across the Winnipeg airfield. There was a few rough nights there. I did get a ticket going home because I drove through a stop sign one time. I was that tired going home.
Well, thank you for your service, and it's been interesting.
I think Liz Strongwell has her hand up.
Yes, yes, I do. Edith, I have to say your presentation was interesting. I currently have a son that's in the military. He's in the Air Force. So a lot of the things that you spoke about doing your training in Cornwallis, the uniforms, everything else is just, you know, something that I lived to, and it was really nice to see. And currently he's serving overseas again. But also I just got to see his son, my grandson, graduate from basic military training 2 weeks ago. So very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Wonderful. No,
I lived through it too as a military wife for
oh,
3 years, so I can relate to a lot of what you're talking about. Yeah.
okay, excellent. Is there any former serving members that are on tonight?
My brother's retired. You might have crossed paths with him in Calgary at one time, but he's been retired for a few years.
Oh, Edith, this is Liz again. I was just going to say that when you talk about Winnipeg, I just live outside of Winnipeg, so I definitely know what you're talking about.
It's cold.
Yes.
No,
So Edith, we started off in PEI with Doreen, and we're going to go all the way over to Alberta and have Linda Mason give you a few words of thanks.
thank you.
Hi, Edith. I really enjoyed listening to you and you sharing all of this information about your time in the military. It was really fantastic and very interesting. Really enjoyed learning about all of the work that you have done, all of the places that you've been to. I did not know about all this behind the scenes military action. It's very, very interesting. And I love your quilt.
Thank you.
So thank you. So thank you very much for sharing with all of us. Really enjoyed it.
Well, I
Yes.
hope I made sense to you. I know I was all over the page, but thank you for the opportunity, and I hope you'll be at a Remembrance Day service tomorrow. I'll be out there in Hanwell tomorrow. And thank you very much, ladies, for this opportunity.
Well,
Well,
thank
thank you.
you very much, Edith, for
Yeah.
your service as well. I'm in Ottawa today, and I will be at the memorial service tomorrow. We are presenting a wreath in memory of the fallen from FWIC WI Canada. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody from across Canada for everything that they do. And there is something that you can do if you would like to. You can write a greeting or a letter to a CFA deployed member somewhere or anywhere in the world. And there's a link that I'm just about to share with you. Let me just get it over here. What's up on the screen? There's instructions there if you'd like to send a greeting, a holiday greeting, any kind of letter. Send it to this. There's instructions there on how to do that.
Cool.
So, having said that, thank you, everybody. You can have some chat time here if you like. But I'm going to sign off. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
Edith.